What's up, you pieces of shit? Talking about Remix Heart once again for the 4th goddamn time. Holy shit. The ride just doesn't end here. The ride continues to keep on going, and I'm at the front of it, and it's all going to be over, and I can't take it anymore. Now, BlazBlue Remix Heart, I've made like 3 videos on. I made a video for my first time, well, not my first time really reading it, but more of a skimming through it. Then I made a video breaking down the stuff I read through, and then I made a video about talking about Mai and discussion of her character, and that was mostly talking about the plot of Remix Heart. So technically I did 3 videos on Remix Heart, so this will be the 4th one. Now, I do believe that Variable Heart does improve on some things that Remix Heart has done, but for some reason I keep coming back to this manga because there's so much that could have been done with it. There's so much that is personally wrong with it to me, but I'm not going to go into everything because I feel like I'd be nitpicking at that point. But Remix Heart is a weird manga that does not fit no matter how much you try. You can add so much BlazBlue elements into this, but it doesn't feel like BlazBlue, you know? It feels like a high school slice of life manga with some action thrown in to make it seem like BlazBlue and some terminology and the characters, you know. And that's okay. But it's not okay in the case of Remix Heart because they go a little bit, like, it's just not really enjoyable to read through. There's nothing stand out about the manga that'll make you go, oh my god. No, there's none of that. None of that in this manga. There's nothing that make you remember it, you know? It's extremely forgettable, and that's the sad thing about it. At least to me. Like, there's nothing in this manga that has hooked me in any shape or form. If anything, the only thing that's really hooked me was, like, how it could have been, you know? So, I want to talk about maybe some of the things that I really wanted to express. Maybe some of these things that could have been changed about Remix Heart to, you know, maybe, you know, make it not so bad or something like that. But I will throw out a fun fact before I start this video. For those who don't know, the mangaka for this manga is actually a person named Sumeragi. She is an artist who had illustrated both the Remix Heart and Variable Heart, the entire manga, and she's also one of the artists in the little ARCSYS team, the Gap artists and whatnot. She also is the one who created the design for Mai and Kaizou. So Mai's character got conceived by freaking Sumeragi, which I'm not shocked at why. They're not shocked. Now I see it. There's no way Mori. I know Mori comes up with some crazy shit, but I know damn well Mai was not a result of was someone he created. I swear to God. But anyway, Sumeragi also did the story portraits for Mai and Chrono Phantasm Extend. Now, I could tell by looking at the Chrono Phantasm Extend art that Mai does look a little off, but I was like, okay, that makes sense. And, you know, Kaizou as well. And also, before working for ARCSYS, Sumeragi also made several not safe for work dojin featuring Ragna and Jin. So, you know, yeah. But anyway, moving on to, I'm about to move on to the actual video part of this. So we're gonna get started with talking about one of my main problems with this manga, Mai Natsume herself. Now, I don't have much to say on Mai. I personally find Mai, like, boring. Like, really, really boring of a character, you know? Like, the thing about BlazBlue that I like so much is that even with the characters I don't like, they have, like, pizzazz to the character, right? For characters like Platinum, she is this freaking magical girl who treats everyone like shit, who's made up of 3 souls, and then, like, she could just, manifest shit into existence. It's fun, you know? It's fun. You know, I don't like New, but New's cool looking. She, at least, you know, has cool moments to her. Mai doesn't, you know? Mai's pretty lame when you think about it. Now, people give, like, characters like Naruto shit for being, you know, a generic shonen character-like idea, but what sets Naruto apart from that is that, like, there's something to his character, you know? It's not something that will jive with everyone, but, like, he feels like a product of BlazBlue, you know? He doesn't feel like someone who came from a completely different series integrated to BlazBlue. The thing about Mai is that, like, she's, like, so far, like, for me, she's, like, so far removed from BlazBlue in Remix Heart that she doesn't feel like she was a product of the series, and that makes sense. Sumeragi was the one who created Mai, and I'm assuming she's made the story of Mai, too, because Mori isn't writing BlazBlue I mean, he's a supervisor, but he isn't the exact writer. If anything, the dude, Deco Akoi, the dude who wrote Alter Memory, is the one writing the story. So I'm gonna guess that him and Super Rocky kind of teamed up together to write Mai's character, and Mai's character isn't very good. She's like, her and Kaizou both, but mostly Mai, you know? Like, she feels like a product of something that's not BlazBlue. And I could deal with that, but it's at the same time, it's like, it doesn't make her interesting. You know, the thing about BlazBlue is that it has a lot of interesting characters. Every character is interesting in some shape or form. Mai isn't to me. You know, Mai's pretty basic. She's more like lame. I don't know how to describe it without making it sound like I'm just like shitting on the character, but like, I feel like they had a thing with Mai. You know, Mai, formerly a dude, being transformed into a woman thanks to the no-name grimoire, and now she has to struggle with the idea of being a woman now. And I could totally understand that, but they don't really go too deep into that. You know, they kind of screw around and make it as a background focus and play what the moments that should be for fan service reasons. And I'm not too big of a fan for that, because like, it's honestly, you feel like that could be a part of Mai's character, and it is, but it's so far in the background. Like, the actual important shit is so far from the background that all you can remember from it is for, yeah, Mai was a dude once. Remember that? That's the only thing people really remember about Mai. And that's the sad thing about it. The only thing people really remember about Mai is like, oh yeah, remember when she was a dude once? And that's sad. That's honestly sad. Now, it honestly could have been, like, it could have went more hand in hand with her dad. Because her dad didn't, you know, really give a shit about her after she became a woman. And that could have worked. You know, she left the Hazuki family, went to the Torifune Military Academy. That could have worked. I swear to God, that could have worked. But it doesn't, because at the last, okay, it doesn't, first of all, it doesn't work because it doesn't really come up all that much. And second of all, you know, you got Chachakaka, like one of the assassins that was trying to kill Mai and eventually just gave up on her. At the last chapter, telling Mai that her father, Huichiro, only was trying to test her, and he loved her in some kind of way. And that's what makes me kind of sad, because that could have worked. It could have worked with, you know, making Mai's dad a complete piece of shit, and then it could have made Mai like they could have went further and make him sexist or something, but that would make no sense because he has a wife, and yeah, that wouldn't make no sense at all. But like, it could have, you know, it could have played in a way like, oh, maybe he sees women as weaker or something like that. But again, that wouldn't work because he has a lot of respect for his wife, and she's pretty strong herself. So again, there's like no way I can try to connect it a way that it would make sense, because Mai turning into a woman to do this is dumb, and I can't find a way to connect it that would make any sense. I'm a writer, but there's no way I can work around this, because I don't see the purpose of working around this. And yeah. And then, like, going further about Mai, you know, now she has her powers. She has no-name grimoire, which can eventually just become kind of any kind of grimoire, which it would be interesting to see, like, oh, maybe she, you know, she becomes this grimoire. But like, I would prefer if it wasn't so situational, because like, Mai's grimoire kind of works in like every situation it has, so there's no struggle for her really. And the thing is, I would have liked it work like Ben 10's like freaking alien powers, where like he gets like, every time he tries to get one power, he will like cycle through a wrong one and has to work around that with that wrong ability. Like, oh, you have to fight a monster that can is made of fire. Okay, let's turn to something of water to beat the beat the fire monster. But you know, you transform into something like, oh no, I have grass, and grass easily catches on fire. I have to work around that or something like that. You know, that could have worked with Mai. You know, she could have like this selection of grimoires, and she could select one at a time and use it for a certain amount of time. If she fights an enemy or something like that that's using a different kind of grimoire or whatever, you know, it could select the wrong one and she'll have to work around it. But instead, like, it's more of a, you know, more of a monster of the week kind of deal. Well, it's not really monster of the week. I call it grimoire of the week, because like, her and her friends are going around finding different kinds of grimoire and dealing with the situations involving those grimoire. And that could have worked, and it creates like a kind of cool set pieces and stuff like that, you know, cool situations, but it's not really that interesting enough to create something like, you know, majorly cool. And like, I don't know, like, Mai having access to all these abilities could work, but it doesn't, because none of it feels earned. It's like she can just easily on the fly, like, hey, like, she doesn't use it, like, her grimoire powers all the time, but like, it's just, I feel like it could have been done better. And I will talk about another ability of hers, because honestly, I want to talk about Super Taste later, because Super Taste is dumb as shit, but I'll get into that later when I get into it. Like, the thing that gets me about Mai is that, like, I feel like they had the idea of, hey, let's have this wacky character that turns from a man to a woman, and let's write all around that. That's what it feels like to me. It's like they had no kind of direction of where to go with the characters. Like, they had the idea and wrote around the idea. I mean, hell, it's not like that is a bad thing. I do that shit all the time. Hell, for example, Devil May Cry, there was like one scene they thought of where freaking Dante held back, I'm sorry, my bad, Nero held back Dante and Virgil, and they just wrote the whole game around that. So, you know, it's not a bad thing, plus you can get some cool shit out of it. But, like, I feel like it's blatantly obvious. I feel like it's really obvious in Remix Heart. It's like they had the idea, and they just wanted an excuse to make that idea a thing. It's like, oh, let's make a whole damn manga out of it. Like, I feel like Mai herself does not carry this whole manga. Like, she carries it, but, like, not in, like, a way that I find satisfying. Like, how to describe it? She's not a character fit to carry this entire manga. That's what I feel like I'm aiming at. Like, personally, for me, I feel like she doesn't carry it herself. She's not really, doesn't feel like a good main character to fit in this manga. Like, she fits. It's just like a whole 25 pages, no, 25 pages, 25 chapters of a manga. Nah, man. Like, Mai's character kind of falls off, like, early in, and I'm like, why? Like, that's why I just feel like it just took that one idea and just wrote around it. And then, like, the other idea is like, well, we haven't explored the military academy all too much, even though we really didn't have to. Hey, let's just do that. I feel like the one thing I don't like about this thing is, like, the military academy itself. Like, I'm not opposed to slice of life high school stories. I've seen a lot, and they were done really well. This one was not done really well. It's like they tried to mesh BlazBlue with it, and it does not work. I think why the military academy bits worked so well in the main BlazBlue games is because you don't see too much of it. And honestly, it was just a backdrop to show how characters got along with each other. It wasn't the whole premise of something, you know? It wasn't a full-on side manga where, like, shit has to, like, some kind of Frankenstein of a fusion trying to, like, hey, let's get our BlazBlue shit, but let's also keep the high school slice of life bullshittery. You know, let's try to meld that together and see how that works. And it doesn't. Like, the setting does not, like, it just doesn't work, you know? Like, you get these set pieces, like you get the desert, you got, like, the desert, the underground. I feel like you don't really get to go out much in the military. You're kind of either stuck in, or go to some wacky world where, like, the Grimoire teleports you there. But the only thing you really see outside the military academy is, like, the desert. I can't really remember anywhere else. I mean, there's this beach. But yeah, it's not like nothing interesting, you know? Like, it's really basic, you know? Like, really, really basic, and not really, you know, it's not fun. Like, it's not fun to read through this shit, because, like, even the setting they're in doesn't lend itself to, like, anything kind of crazy. And, like, I feel like if they did, you would have to, like, go really hard on it, and it still wouldn't make sense. I feel like if they were outside the academy, which I'm glad they did in freaking Variable Heart, they actually, you know, go out of the academy and experience more out there, I could understand that. But in Remix Heart, it's like you're in this enclosed place that you can't do much with, and whatever you do doesn't really get to, you know, go out more. It's like, I mean, it could work. Hell, stories have worked before within the high school setting and the school setting, but, like, it doesn't work here. It doesn't work here, and it doesn't work here. You know, BlazBlue, like it's an anime-esque game. It's an anime game. You figured it could, like, but it can't tackle all forms of anime. Hell, it's like if BlazBlue was like a straight-up mystery, like a horror mystery shit. It wouldn't work, because that's not what it is, and that's why I feel like Remix Heart doesn't work too well. It's not what it is. This is not BlazBlue, man. Like, holy shit. But let me just move on to the rest of the shit before I freaking get caught in this longer than I have to. Another thing I really wanted to talk about is the fan service moments in the manga. Like, the manga is littered with them, and I get it. Sumeragi is more comfortable and more known for drawing this kind of shit, but at the same time, I'm like, some of it doesn't work. You know, like, the whole manga, it's like, it doesn't work. I don't know how to describe it, because I'm trying to, like, find a way that makes it seem like it makes sense, because I'm terrible at explaining shit. But, like, they only, like, the thing about this is, like, for the fan service moments, it really only ties in with Mai, really, because, like, what I remember I said before about how Mai's, like, whole, like, you know, having to deal with being a woman now ties into the fan service of this. It's only really used as just a way to get Mai into these wacky situations, you know, and it lessens over time, but like in the first 10 chapters of the manga, it's everywhere, and it sprinkles itself later on, and like I'm glad it lessens over time, but like it's like it will probably drive you away just trying to read the first couple of chapters or so. And I feel like more emphasis could have been placed on the characters more rather than the fan service, because like it just kind of treats everyone like I don't have a problem with fan service as long as it's not used a little bit too much. And in this manga, it's pretty much just like not the focus, but it's more like if you read this manga the entire way through, you would pretty much remember the fan service rather than the actual characters of those manga. And I will get into the characters because holy shit, they don't do anything with the characters. But the point is, if they just lighten up the moments and just not make it seem so obvious, like just make it like, you know, sprinkle it. Don't just make it the focus. I think it would have worked out a little bit better than it is now, because it's like when you're starting out, it's nearly in every chapter until something happens, and like I would have preferred if like nothing, like it could have been, you know, lessened and not used too much, or at least I don't know, man. I mean, something like god damn, dude, like you're trying to take a moment seriously and they just bust out something like that. I'm like, okay, thanks Sumeragi, thanks Deco Accord, thanks Mori. You guys could have freaking made an art book for this crap, and I swear to God, it would probably have been a lot more than having to waste the entire manga for this shit, dude. Now, I mentioned before that the characters there's nothing really been done with the characters. Like, you get new characters introduced in this manga in the form of, like, the characters like, the teacher, Estella, characters in the form of Kajun, Akane, there's a dude who looked like I was a woman the entire time. There's Shiori Kirihito, there's Taro Sasagai, I can never pronounce his name right. And, you know, you get your main characters like Mai, you got Makoto, Noelle, and Tsubaki, you know, the ones from BlazBlue. Well, except Mai, because Mai was introduced in this manga, but the point is, yeah, they don't do anything with the characters. Even the main character, Mai, she's really the only one that does everything, and I swear to God, I can barely remember what she actually has done that made the manga, like, feel significant, you know? Like, Noelle, Tsubaki, and Makoto are so wasted in this manga. They don't do anything, man. They're just the groupies. And that's what's sad about this. They're just the side girls to Mai. Like, even Kajun, who was introduced in this manga, doesn't do anything, you know? And Mai's really the only person that actually, you know, does anything. Like, at all. And that's kind of sucks, because I mean, you figured, like, you know, I mean, I wasn't expecting anything major to happen in this manga, because, hey, it's back then when you're in the military academy. You know, they're not out in the world doing the wacky BlazBlue shit like they do when they get older. But here it's just, all the characters are relatively, like they don't do anything, you know? Like, the only character I really, like, liked in this manga, was freaking Jin. And that's because, like, you know, there's like this moment in the manga where Jin like does this JoJo-esque thing, I refuse shit, and I like that. It shows that Jin was a different person before he got older and, you know, went all nutburger and crazy. But like characters like Makoto, I feel like Makoto's like her the best of the five of Mai, Kajun, Makoto, Mai, Kajun, Noelle, Tsubaki, Makoto. Yeah, Makoto's like my favorite, because at least in line it keeps with her character. Like, she's just this goofball side character. You know, well, not real side. I guess she is a side character, might as well be. But she's just goofball of a character, and I love that. It kept that through. But characters like Noelle, you can easily forget Noelle's even here half the time, and Tsubaki's even worse. Like I don't like Tsubaki, but holy shit, I think nothing, like absolutely nothing was done with her. Like, at least with Noelle, she like, you know, cooks her dumb food, and people like, you know, ha ha ha, Noelle's a super cook, ha ha, like, shitty cooking, ha ha. But Tsubaki doesn't do absolutely nothing, dude. Like, holy shit. Like, none of them do anything, and that makes me sad. Hell, Taro gets lucky to have his own fight scene. Shiori gets to do something. And speaking of Shiori, holy shit, dude. Shiori is a character with wasted potential. I can't say wasted potential because, like, I don't know what they could have really done with her if they already did her shit. But, like, so Shiori Kirihito was introduced as this assassin. She was sent out to fight Jin, and then, you know, Mai knew her as a kid, and, well, back to when she was a dude, really. And, you know, she was known for the Kirihito style assassination techniques involving poison, and Mai learned those techniques, and Mai used it against Shiori. She learned of her thoughts through super taste, and boom! Shiori's, you know, sad and everything, blah, 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 and then now they're besties, and not really besties, because now Shiori's like a fangirl of Mai, and I'm like, okay, is there any more to this? And no, she just kind of once her role is done, she just goes to the background and sticks at being, you know, my fangirl, and it kind of sucks because honestly, like Mai's already an uninteresting character as enough as it is, so having another character to kind of just like go, like just, you know, hyping her up and shit like that, and, you know, just try and make her seem better is not fun. And Shiori kind of sucks now because she could have been interesting, and Variable Heart doesn't do her any favors, and it really does suck. Like, you already got characters who are underutilized, and you bring in another character who just goes to being underutilized. Come on, man. Now, the thing about Remix Heart is that nothing really happens. Honestly, like, actual action and things, the actual action barely happens in this manga. Now, after chapter 10, things start to pick up with actual fighting going on. Shiori is introduced to setting the stage for the darker side of the manga, as well as, you know, Cyber Albar, the main antagonist of the manga, applying his schemes to use Mai as the Burning Red Grimoire. But this is not an action manga. Like, action could happen, but it's not really much of it. And then when it does happen, it's over so quickly that it's like, well, why even bother? You know, like, I know Sumeragi or the writers, I don't know who decision was to not make it like this, but like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like, I guess being in the military academy kind of limited your situation, but I feel like being in a military academy, you figured the fights could happen more often. You know, if anything, the fights happen away from the academy, except like the exception, like one that happens underneath the academy and one that happens in the academy where like Jin goes insane from noticing the presence of the Asher within Mai, which honestly, I don't see why. Like, I honestly, like, I get, like, it's supposed to be, like, Jin's power of order. If he notices something evil, it goes, you know, off the on saying, like, the Dark One, blah, 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 blah. But, like, I don't know, man. It just seems like, why? And then, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm trying to, like, think how this could have worked. But honestly, I feel like it's because of the setting and the limited like, the limited shit they get to do outside the academy that could happen. Like, I feel like the Grimoires, right, could have had holders. Like, it's like like JoJo, where, like, you know, you get the stand users, like let's say, like, I would say, like, Stars Crusaders, right? Let's use the Stars Crusader example. You know, they got, like, a week. Like, let's say, like, the whole Egypt thing when they arrive in Egypt to go, like, they have a week to go beat all the stand users in order to find Dio. Now, these Grimoire could have had holders or something like that, where Mai and her friends would fight the holders of the Grimoire, beat them, and either, you know, destroy the Grimoire or just, you know, take it. Because, like, hell, one of the Grimoires, I can never pronounce this word, the Aquavalentis Grimoire was taken away by the teacher, Estella. So I feel like that could have worked. Like, maybe they could have, like, you know, been sent on missions, like, hey, you know, Mai and pals, there's these stand users out, Grimoire users out there. We want you to take them all down within a week before Cypher Albar creates this super powerful burning red Grimoire with some bullshit. And, you know, like, that would have been interesting, though. You get a bunch of cooler characters with a bunch of, you know, unique abilities with their Grimoire, and, you know, it could have done something with it, you know? Like, honestly, the Grimoires are, like, essentially the villains of this manga, and they're just, like, you know, items and books and whatnot, so they kind of don't, you know, they don't have a personality of sorts. And hell, that would have been a good way to introduce more characters that actually felt like they had some substance in this manga, because nobody has any kind of substance in this manga. Even the characters from, like, BlazBlue we know already, there's no substance to these characters, and that kind of bums me out. But yeah, like, I would have preferred if, like, this could have been like an action manga. Hey, you know, the Grimoire could have, like, you know, forced Mai or one of her friends off to another location, and they fight with their unique abilities of the Grimoire. That would have made it a lot more interesting, and plus, it would probably give more characters time to shine. Like, hell, we know that Noelle and Jin have their weapons as of now. They could, you know, go off. Jin could go fight a Grimoire user. Noelle can go off fight a Grimoire user. Tsubaki, Kajun, you could see any abilities Kajun could even have. So, you know, that would have been great, and I would have liked that idea. Then I can finally mention what the hell Mai really is in regards of abilities and stuff like that. Mai is known as a remix heart, which is a fusion between man and Grimoire. And upon doing that, you know, you can just gain the power of a Grimoire and use all its powers being, you know, I think it's just as simple as that. They don't really expand too much on the remix heart in the manga, but it's relatively simple. Man plus Grimoire equals power. Easy. Okay. So this ties into the main villain, Cypher Albar. Now, Cypher he's actually a professor of the Torifune Military Academy, and his whole motivation was to become a hero that would go down in history. by obtaining the Burning Red Grimoire. He would be like someone like Nine, who was, led the charge of, having Ars Magus, the Nox, Ars Armistice, etc., etc. He wanted to be someone like that. He would want to become a hero that people would recognize. And, that could have been great motivation, but at the same time, there's no, like, connection between, like, why he would do the heinous things he did in becoming a hero, right? So the thing is, at one point, he was in Sector 7, right? He was in Sector 7, he became acquainted with Kokanoe, and then, like, he started creating these creatures and shit like that, like artificial beings, and then, like, after he left, he changed his appearance, and soon after that, and, like, right after that, when he was hired by the military academy, he would start going around kidnapping people, trying to fuse them with grimoires, but, then they died. But, like, there's no... Like, the thing is, like, it makes it seem like he's a scientist, right? He wants to be... Like, he's obsessed with becoming a hero, so he wants to do all these heinous things in order to become that hero, so he can obtain the Burning Red Grimoire, etc., etc. But, like, there's nothing expanding upon it. It just makes it seem like, oh, I want to be this hero, but boom, I went crazy and started kidnapping people and fusing them with grimoires and killing them. Like, there's no connection, Like, there's no character to him. He just went from, I'm insanely evil, but I wanted to be a hero. I wanted to be this hero to go down in history, but there's no turning point. There's no turning point. Now, people, like, there's like it's hinted that he was like mocked. He was mocked for, he wanted to be a scientist, and people mocked him for it because, like, oh, you're crazy. The Burning Red Grimoire doesn't exist. You're crazy. But why would you do this? But, he kept going after it. But, like, there's nothing, building that up, We don't see Cypher all that much. Most of the time where you see him is when he's crazy. You don't hardly ever see him in a moment where, like, you see him as more of a down-to-earth kind of person. I mean, you do, but, like, he's just using that as an excuse to go after Mai. That could have worked. But at the same time, I feel like there could have been more to his backstory and more to his character. I mean, he didn't even need a big-ass backstory. Just do more with his character instead of making him just seem like crazy all the time. The whole point of him, like, in the manga was supposed to him, like, acting like this nice, kind professor, luring people in and, using them to his advantage. And I could have been fine with that. But, like, at the same time, I'm feeling like, okay, there could have been more done with him. There could have been, like, a breaking point where he had, like, in his backstory or something to make him turn this way, But as it is, Cypher is kind of like, just there, And, like, the one time you do see him, like, out of, like, what could have had that. It's like, okay, Relius is here. Relius pops up. Cypher's like, oh shit, Relius is here. What the hell is he doing? And then, like, that there could have been a way where he tied Relius with, maybe Cypher himself. But I don't know how that could have worked. I mean, like, he isn't, like, there's, like, no kind of, like, oh, man, maybe Relius is such a good scientist or some shit. Like, it's like a rival kind of thing. But, like, Relius doesn't think of anyone else because he's evil. But, like, the thing is, Cypher, it could have been more interesting, He could have been interesting. But as it stands, just like the rest of this manga, he's so underutilized that it just makes him seem like he's just here because they needed a villain to use, and that's what he feels like. He just feels like despite showing up earlier in the manga, he feels like so much of a last-minute addition that it sucks. It honestly sucks. I mean, I don't personally find him any interesting at all. Even from a design standpoint, he doesn't look like a standout. But damn it, man! Like, honestly, like, if you're gonna use a villain, you might as well just freaking, use them, for Christ's sakes, man. So now we're getting close to the end of the video. I can finally talk about Super Taste and why it's so weird and dumb. And, like, Mai's abilities in general, like, Mai's abilities in this manga, like, not in Variable Heart, just in, like, Remix Heart, feel like that no one had an idea what powers to give Mai, Straight up in Variable Heart, she really has just the Grimoire powers and the Outseal. But, like, in this, she has the ability to taste emotions and feelings of food. She can freaking transfer... Okay, with her intermediary grimoire, she can transfer abilities from people. Then she also has the power to remix heart. Then she also has, like, a super mode. And then, like, she's able to turn her grimoire into multiple grimoires and shit like that. And even turn into a Nox Taurus, for Christ's sakes, which is, like, so dumb. Like, dude... Like, I swear to God, I feel like, in this manga in particular... They didn't know what to do with my... Also, she also has, the Kirihito style techniques, but I can't really call that an ability. I can only really call that as like a technique, like a physical technique. It's not really a power. But I feel like in this particular instance with mine, they didn't have an idea what power to give her, you know? They had no freaking idea. They either wanted to have super taste. No, we had to give her this power to Grimoire, which is able to copy other powers of Grimoire, which makes her like Mega Man or some shit. Like she has or like use different powers. No, she's a remix heart, which is like she loses the intermediary Grimoire's power. No, she has a super mode. No, she can like it piles on. I'm like, what the hell do you want her to be? Like again, like having all the like it's just like there's no like. Mai's character and powers, like her powers and shit, just there was like no one had an idea what to do with her. They just threw shit at the character and expected that to work, and it doesn't. Like maybe I'm just freaking out over nothing, but at the same time, like you could not pull that shit off if she was playable, and they didn't. They gave her one thing to do while she was playable, and that's just to throw her spear. There we go, fair enough. But like here it's like, well, shit, like. It's dumb. Like, okay, the only thing I like about the super taste idea is that the fact that it was referenced in BlazBlue cross tag battle, which they didn't even have to do, but it was cool. When Teddy freaking throws out his poison curry and Mai eats it, and instead of getting damaged, she heals. And like, I like that idea. They didn't have to freaking program that into it, but that's a nice callback. But you know, that's the only thing I even like about the super taste ability. Like. The fact that she's like likes Noelle's food now, which it could work as a comedy angle, but like they don't. Like, it's not really that funny. I like the idea of Noelle making shitty food funnier because having Mai like, oh no, I like it now. Like it could be funny, but it's like funny only the first time, you know. Like the fact that they keep doing it for Mai and shit like that. It's like they reference it here and there. It's like okay, it's not funny anymore. But like. I don't know, man. Like the super taste ability is really dumb. Like I have accepted people have really weird abilities. Like My Hero Academia has a bunch of like dumbass powers, but like the thing about it is they have to work around that ability to try and make it work. There was no way in hell they could have made a whole manga, a whole character based around the super taste ability, for where Mai is able to like freaking like use the super taste, right? And like work that around in her everyday life. There was no way that could have happened. So, yeah, I think I'm done talking about the manga. Like Remix Heart is not good. It's not very enjoyable to read. Like there's some moments that I could see people liking, but I got nothing, man. And I'm done talking about it. This is like my last video talking about it. I will be talking about Variable Heart whenever I get a chance to. I know it's finished, I think. So when I read it and get a hold of it, then I'll, read it. But till then, I'm done Variable Heart. I'm out of here. I think I've talked about it enough. I've made this is my 4th video on it, so I think I'm like done talking about Remix Heart. I can only milk it for so long, man.